Hello and welcome to today's news on Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki, and this morning I'm starting with Vanguard on the paper review. Vanguard is leading with worsening insecurity. Niger government imposes curfew. 11 killed in fresh Benue attack. Evil will be defeated. That's coming from NSA. Says Tinubu met a bad situation. This is carnage. Why helpless? That's coming from Governor Alia. Steve Idoma. Paramount rulers are summon meeting of subjects as NBA asks federal government to urgently allow state police. Federal government is overwhelmed. That's coming from Afenifere and Pandef. You can see that story on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. And there's a photo story showing protest as it continues in River State as a group known as the Port Harcourt Township Pressure Group engaged in a peaceful demonstration calling on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to reinstate suspended Governor Fubara of River State in Port Harcourt yesterday. On page 9, world leaders expected as Vatican fixes Saturday for Pope Francis' funeral. Late Pope was humane, humble. That's coming from NSCIA. You can see that special story on page 13. On page 12, protesters urge Tinubu to reinstate Fubara. Supremacy battle. I have no rift with Oni of Ife. That's coming from Alafi. On page 8, don't take out your frustration on us. Senate replies Bakare. On sport, page 31, Manchester United beat off competition to reach basic agreement to sign Osime. Above the banner, we have on page 4, IMF lowers Nigeria's economic growth forecast to 3%. That's all on Vanguard newspaper. Away from there, we'll move to the nation. The nation is leading with attackers of communities are foreigners, says governor. Armed men stormed Benue villages in 100. Ribadu assures of intensified action. You can see that on page 4. Pope Francis' last moment by the Vatican. Trump, Macron, Starmer, all the world leaders for funeral Saturday. Body lies in state. You can see that on page 5. Customs rakes in 1.7 trillion naira in first quarter. And above the banner, we have IMF cuts global growth forecast over Trump's tariffs. Projection for Nigeria now 3%. Lastly, on the Nation newspaper, we have Bakare's spineless rubber stamp tag misleading, says teenage. You can see that on page 3 of the Nation newspaper. Away from there, we move to the Guardian. The Guardian leading story says Nigeria walks a tightrope as IMF sees higher inflation, lower oil prices. You can see that on page 6. And on page 30, we have a coalition urges National Assembly on bill to reserve seats for women in parliament. Federal government targets $4 billion import reduction via proposed steel incentive bill. Lagos recorded 517,394 traffic infractions in 1 year. PDP sacks Bayelsa. Edo executives appoint interim officials. And we have armed elders kill 11 in fresh Benue attack as Ribadu defends federal government security efforts. Directly below the banner, we have a monarch backs African Pope as 9 stand to succeed Francis. Lastly, on the Guardian newspaper, customs record 1.7 trillion naira revenue in first quarter of 2025, exceeds target by 106 billion naira. That can be seen on news analysis page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. And lastly, the Punch newspaper is leading with killings. Inspector General of Police deploys special anti-bandit squads nationwide. Bandits strike again, kill 18 in Kwara, Benue. Not a governors talk tough. Nigeria's rebased inflation to hit at 37% in 2026, that's according to IMF. 8 banks have spent 4.61 trillion naira on salaries and operations. Senate lambas Bakare over rubber stamp remark. Stray bullets killed 16-year-old at Lagos anti-cultism walk. Flight disruption likely over an alignment worker strike. You can see that on page 21. And lastly, on the Punch newspaper, emergency rule. Fubara may shift ground after Tinubu's United Kingdom meeting. You can see that on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. And that's all we have on the front pages of the dailies. Join us after the break as our guests will be joining us via Zoom to analyze some of the stories. Welcome back. If you're just joining me, this is Today in the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki, and joining me to analyze some of the stories on the front pages this morning is Mr. Gbenro Olajibe. He's Executive Director of Emergency and Risk Alert. Good morning, Mr. Gbenro.
Good morning. It's a pleasure being with you.
Yes, you're welcome for joining. And now let's move straight to some of the stories on the front pages. And we have the governor of Benue and Plateau. The state is yet to settle. As Niger State Governor Umaru yesterday, he declared a dusk to dawn curfew in the state capital, Mina, following the incessant killings of the people in the state. And this curfew came on a day that 11 persons were killed by herdsmen in fresh attack in Benue State. What do you think about the recent killings in the north side of Nigeria?
Yeah, those are testimony to the poor management of security issue in Nigeria. And the context is not yet understood by the federal government. The way they are tackling this insecurity, it doesn't seem that they take it serious. And I made a very well laid out proposal when President Tinubu came into power. He started wrongly, but he had opportunity to rejig the mistake and combat the mistake to a productive national strategy. He started wrongly in the sense that when you come into power like that, especially people that went through hell under the 8 years of Buhari regime, the first thing is to look at what is the purpose of this my government first. He didn't get the purpose of his government right ab initio. The purpose of government constitutionally is welfare and security of the people. That would have been a very beautiful launch pad for Tinubu to have taken off this government. But he missed the step by thinking that I needed money, let me remove subsidy. And he complicated the issue of security with extreme poverty that is pervasive across the country. And at that time, the reason I'm saying this is that it made a lot of young people disillusioned to the extent that it deepened and widened the pool where terrorists could source the recruits. So it made recruitment easy, very easy for terrorists. That was that. If you look at it now, the expansion of the way they are looking at it, in just within 2 weeks, nearly 300 Nigerians have been criminally killed, murdered. And that is not that alone. That means that thousands of families have been rendered cruelly dead, in the sense that maybe most of their breadwinners have been taken off by these criminal terrorists and every other within 2 weeks. And this is a country that has president, and the president was not around to handle things himself, to ensure that proper security is put in place, properly managed, properly directed, properly commanded, with outcome that is defined by the commander-in-chief. If you look at it, look at the situation, the scenario in Plateau State. They repeatedly kill people. Not that they kill and go. It wasn't kill and go. It wasn't by mistake. That means that those people were daring. The same thing with Benue State. And of course, you have heard of the Mahmouda, the new terrorist group that is ravaging everywhere in Kwara State today. Giving pronouncement, issuing their own order to the citizens of the state. And some are even, in fact, in Fubara state. The terrorist group has levied community because they are in cooperation with the military now. 60 million naira that they have to pay urgently if they don't want to be killed. And this is a country. So the mistake is from the government that didn't prioritize security. Because, and I've told you, no matter what they are putting in place in Plateau and Benue State now, it's not going to solve the problem because there is no defined boundary. There is fluidity of boundary from between one state and the other. There must be national strategy that the president must put in place. I've said it several times. The national security advisor, his job is not to be going about and expressing condolence and expressing frustration and blaming the past regime of Buhari. His own is to put in place a strategy. It is not creating a bereavement. Condolence is not a strategy. It should put up a strategy, a robust one, a national one that will simultaneously tackle these incidents of insecurity, not only in Plateau, in Benue, in Kwara, in other parts of the country.
Well, Mr. Aguero, Niger State government, they imposed a curfew. So how effective are curfews in addressing the root cause of violence?
Well, that Niger State, and that is one thing that is wrong with Nigerian problem. We are very reactive. Those who claim to be governing Nigeria. I listened to him and several errors and loopholes in his arrangement. Those things can't work. What is the link? You have no research that is telling you that those wearing dreadlock are the problem and everything. This thing, when you make a very blatant, reckless attempt to respond to urgent issue of security, you fall into pitfall. The pitfall is that many people will not cooperate with you because it seems as if you are violating their rights, even the rights of those who are not criminals. Look, you don't say because you want to destroy criminals and destroy the rights of everybody. What Niger State governor is doing is extremely wrong. That is not how to tackle situation. When you have a problem, you sit down. Because it's your problem, it's your responsibility. You are paid to do the job as governor of the state. You collect security vote. And that security vote asks each governor to bring out their security strategy. They don't have to engage these occurrences and everything. They are just reacting to impromptu reaction to issue that is existential to their people. That is not how to put things. Those people, they operate during the day. They violate people and kill people during the day. What curfew? What is he going to do? Is that the issue? The issue I'm saying is that Nigerian security problem has assumed a state that it can no longer be fought within the geography of each state unless there is a robust discussion around it and a robust national strategy put in place to engage it. Every state will be laboring in vain. It's beyond Benue State. What is going on now is beyond Benue State. It's beyond Plateau State. For example, let me be clear. Plateau State the crisis here is historical. Historical is a crisis of hegemony that did not start yesterday. It's a crisis of hegemony that dated back to almost 50 years now. We don't have the time to go back into the history of how the Emir of Bauchi was appointed in those days to oversee the district of the province of Jos and other area, including the present Benue State. So I won't go into that history. The fact is that you must have your fact, your research. Then, how do we handle this type of situation? That's why I'm saying that unless we crystallize everything into, we convert everything into national crisis and develop a national response strategy, yet taking into consideration the local nuances where these crises are going on. For example, it's coming gradually into Ondo State. In the last 1 month, Ondo State was riddled by terrorist attacks, killings, and maiming of people there. So it's not going to stop in one state. They are gradually moving down south, and we are not careful as a country. I'm saying for the up-10 time that the president should know that this is clear emergency that he should sit on, not by calling and inviting security heads alone. They can't solve the problem alone.
Mr. Gbero, is it time for foreign intervention?
Well, there might be need for foreign intervention because it's clear that we have not been able to help our people. The situation, we are talking like this now because we are not directly affected. Those who have lost those nearly 300 people in Nigeria within the last 14 days, we know what they are passing through now. So if we can't help ourselves, there is no harm in inviting others to help us. One, if we cannot, because if you look at the country now, with everything is politicized, even security. In this type of, we are in this deep shit, security-wise, and people are still talking of 2027 election. Who they are going to vote for? Why should they support this? Is this the time for all this nonsense? When a country is going through this hell, you don't discuss such thing. And there is only one person who can mobilize action against this problem. And that is the commander-in-chief, the president. It's not about the military, calling the military alone. You must call those who can give you advice, correct one, those who have conducted research about this thing. You must listen to people. And you can give them 2 weeks to present a broad, robust, and contextual strategy that will enable us to reduce the security risk that we are facing currently. And not by meeting with the same people and bringing no result at the end of the day. So the Nigerian security situation has degenerated, and it's not good for anybody. And people should not politicize it. People should, if the president is willing, people should cooperate with him. But if he's not willing, there's nothing anybody can do. There are 2 situations. I've said it. 2 conditions. One, a leader may be, why problem fester? One, it is possible that a leader is unable. Well, that is issue of capacity. It can be helped. A leader may be unwilling, unable, unwilling. If you have that 2 combination of a leader that is unable and is still unwilling, there's nothing you can do. The situation will continue to degenerate. And everybody will be lamenting. Excuses everywhere, every time. Nobody is interested in National Security Advisor saying that this situation was good. But there was a time last year that he was boasting that the security situation has improved. They have improved tremendously. Why is he lamenting today? That means that there is no enduring, sustainable strategy to address the issue. That is just it.
Well, Mr. Gbero,
the president is around today because the president is around now. IG is saying that he has sent anti-bandit squad to go and engage everywhere. All this showmanship should stop.
Well, Mr.
Those are bad at that. They should sit down, plan together, incorporate security intellectual experts, and whether they are local or foreigners. And make use of the space of time we have to contribute to reducing the security risks that Nigeria is facing today. And you know that the economy is getting worse every day. And the consequence of that is that it has security concern. If you remember on this platform, I've said it. Look, if you make life miserable for the people, the money you think you are making by raking in money because people are suffering from the consequences of increase in prices of oil and everything, you will spend them on security. Those are such consequences of unconscionable policies that this current administration have put in place. So with the security situation can only be holistically addressed, not through the military alone. It has to come through stick and carrot.
Mr. Aguero, sorry to cut in. Governor Bago, one of the things he said, you mentioned it earlier, is that he gave marching orders to security agencies that anybody they find with dreadlocks, they should arrest, barb the hair, and also find him. And he also, issued warnings to parents that any house they find harboring criminals should be demolished. What do you think about this?
Where is he talking from? Is he talking from our constitution? His speech is in violation of the constitution. Who gave him that power? Where did he derive that power that he's saying? That's why what I'm saying that is wrong. How do we get here? We get to this issue of security challenge because people's rights were violated. Let us not lose the track and the history of Boko Haram in this country. When the leader of Boko Haram was arrested, when they just started, it wasn't a serious thing like this, but there was blatant repression of rights, suppression of human rights of those guys. And then they negatively blossom into extreme violence. So it's the same thing that is advocating. That's why I'm saying that there is a way of addressing issue. Not because it happened now. Because you are suffering from one brainwave, you just drop idea that it might work in a short time, but it will lead to worse consequences that you are trying to avoid. How do you pick people that just because they have a knife and you kill them? What if they are bushers? I mean, alakpata, the one that kill a cow for people to eat. Is that how you do? You just arrest somebody that is wearing dreadlock and you cut the head, you torture the person. How will that solve the problem? That is not the solution. You don't address problem like that in civilized. We're in a democracy. And even if we are not democracy, we should pretend that we're in one. He was elected at least as a governor. So that is not the way out. The way out, and I'm telling you that the governors, there is little or nothing they can do. They don't have security, even though you call them chief security officers of their country. That is they are not the de facto. The de facto is command any troop. So they can't respond. They depend on others. That's not how to do that. They have to work in consonant with the federal government that is